Hi guys, and welcome to the Unquendor Guitars workshop. My name is Daniel and this is another part in the video series where I'm building my Gibson Firebird inspired guitar, my Phoenix. And in the previous episode I routed all the cavities, drilled a lot of holes, glued in the neck, and we ended up with carving the heel to body transition. And yeah, in this episode it's time to play with some stains, so without further ado, let's dive straight into this video. So yesterday evening on stream I did almost all of the sanding, so in this episode we can go straight into the fun stuff, playing with stains, doing a flame burst on the top of this guitar and on the headstock, and yeah, start playing with finishing products. And to start off, I'm going to fill all the grain and pores of the mahogany on this guitar, and I'm going to use the Nitorlack Grain filler. It's a water-based grain filler. You can apply it directly onto the guitar, or you can dilute it with some water so it really soaks in all the pores and fills all the grain, making sure that the pores and the wood won't soak up as much of the clear lacquer we're going to apply later on. And because it's a black grain filler, a contrasting color to my actual wood color, it will also enhance the patterns and make the mahogany more pop and more lively. So yeah, I'm going to apply this using a spatula and a credit card, but you can also use a piece of cloth or a wiper or something. Real easy to apply, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to protect all the light parts of this guitar. So I'm going to mask these two maple strips of the neck, and I'm going to mask off the top and the headstock. Yeah guys, first thing I'm doing is making sure the maple is nice and clean. Remove any dust. And then I'm going to use some masking tape to mask these maple stripes. It can be a bit fiddly. But hey. And I'm cutting exactly on the black line, so you won't see the mark, if any, left by the scalpel blade. Come on. So guys, I masked everything there where I don't want any grain filler to accidentally go. So just to be sure. And now I can open up this container. Ooh, it's nice and thick. And use a plastic spatula to start filling the grain. So here's the grain filler, and currently it's a bit thick, so I have to stir it very well. And what I might end up doing is putting it in a little cup and adding some water so it gets the consistency of a Greek yogurt, so a thick yogurt. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little scoop, put it in a paper cup. And I like these paper cups, they're cheap, easy to use, easy to get, and they do very well as a mixing cup. And when you're done, you can just throw them out. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to need. So start with a nice cup full. Put this aside. And I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water. Yeah, it doesn't take much at all. Just those few drops were more than enough to get a good consistency. So I have to stir it very well. Yeah, a nice consistency. I'm going to take another spatula. I have another one right here. And now I can start applying the filler to the guitar body. And I'm going over the grains in a diagonal pattern. And it's a dirty job. And I don't know if there's a cleaner, nicer way to do this, or if it's supposed to be a bit of a mess. But in the end, it's really worth doing. And luckily it's all water based, so clean up very easy. Just rinse with water. So guys, here's a quick little tip to save you some sanding after applying the filler, and to really make sure the filler gets deep into the pores and into the wood, is just take a little spray bottle and just spray the surface a bit. Take a paper towel and rub it in. This smoothens out the grain filler, so you don't have a lot of sanding to do later on. And like I said, it really helps the filler and black coloring to soak deep into the grain. And it's easier to do these edges as well. So I've put the guitar aside for a moment to clean up the mess, and this should also be very straightforward, even those very dirty tools. Just take a piece of paper, use a spray bottle, make it soaking wet, and just wipe the tools. Make sure everything gets nice and wet. And it should clean up relatively easy, the bench as well. First a rough wash. aside. Put this aside as well. Tools, everything. Masking tape. Some paper towel. First, of course, the tools. And I put them in the sink in a moment to really get them nice and clean, but they're already pretty clean. Same goes for the bench. And my bench is reasonably water resistant. I make sure to put some oil in on it once in a while, so I can do this. It doesn't stain as quick. Another paper towel. And a rack. So. And the bench is nice and clean again, and once it's dry I'm going to give it another coat of oil and it's back to new. So let's get the guitar back. Yeah guys, the guitar is back, and right now it looks like a real mess, but I can assure you it's well worth the effort. In my experience, when doing a black grain fill on mahogany, it really brings the wood to life, and of course it really saves up a lot on lacquer, because if you don't seal or don't fill the pores and the grain of the wood, it keeps soaking up your lacquer, and yeah, a grain filler and a sealer really prevent that from happening, and it looks good. So yeah, according to the manufacturer, I have to let this dry for about 2 to 8 hours, and it will be fully hardened after 24 hours. But if you're in a hurry, you can start applying your first base coats of lacquer after approximately 8 hours, so that's good to know. Also, this wood filler is compatible with most stains. You can stain over the wood that has been filled, grain filled, pore filled with this wood filler, but keep in mind though, the color of your stain might turn out differently on a darkened or section of wood treated with wood filler. So always do a test piece to make sure your colors turn out the way you want them to. Yeah, like I said, this grain filler needs to cure for about, or harden for about 8 hours. So I'm going to put this guitar aside, wait for a couple of hours, but for you guys, I'll be back in just a moment. So guys, it's the next day, early morning, and the grain filler has dried. Time to take off a lot of the masking I did yesterday and start sanding back the grain filler. Let's see. Looks real funny, the black outline. And the first thing I'm going to sand is the false binding around the top. And to do so, I'm going to try the sandpaper provided by Nitorlack. I'm going to use the 240 grit. take it out, and instead of the flexible foam pad, I'm going to use just a hard sanding block. It fits, so let's see how this goes. I'm keeping a brush at hand so I don't rub in too much of the dust into the top wood. And I'm not applying too much pressure. Just let the sandpaper do its job. Prepping a surface for finish, whether it's a guitar, a car, a piece of fine furniture, is the most crucial step of the entire finishing process. So take your time, make sure you remove all of the filler from the surfaces you don't want any filler to be visible, and just take it slow. Let the sandpaper do its job. Pushing down on sandpaper doesn't work. It only clogs up your sandpaper. So with just a light pressure, start sanding back the filler. And I must say, good quality sandpaper. It isn't clogging up. Real nice. I wish the sheets were a bit wider though. So, I think I removed all the filler, all the grain filler from the surface where it matters. But I can still see some darker spots here and there that I need to address. So I'm going to take a piece of worn sandpaper and address those dark spots a bit until I'm happy and I have a uniform. I think that's the most important, to have a uniform grain fill. Of course, right here you can see those bigger stripes. That's the grain pattern and that will look awesome once the guitar is finished. This is what I was talking about. This is enhancing the natural grain pattern of the mahogany. But yeah, I like everything to be as clean as possible, so I'm going to spend some more time cleaning everything up before I'm going to clean up the top and start staining the top. Oh, and one thing before I forget, having black dust everywhere really helps, even on the top, to identify scratches, rough spots, spots you haven't sanded enough yet, because you can really see all those fine black scratches appearing on a lighter top, and I can easily address them with a bit of sandpaper. So guys, I think I'm done cleaning up everything and sanding back the grain filler, and I'm pretty pleased with how this is turning out. And now it's almost time for the fun stuff, playing with stains. But before I go and play with color and stains, I want to protect this mahogany binding. I don't want the stain to bleed or soak into this edge. So what I'm going to do, besides masking off the edge in a moment, I'm going to apply a very thin layer of sanding sealer, and this hopefully prevents the stain from bleeding in. So I want to prevent the sanding sealer from getting onto the top, especially near the edges, so I don't end up with a little white or light colored line once I get to staining. So I masked off as much of the edge as possible, and now I'm going to take a little brush with just a bit of sealer and only seal this edge. And now you can also see how the black grain filler enhances the look of the mahogany. So, and the sanding sealer should dry in just a couple of minutes, so I give it 15 minutes, I think. Maybe apply a second layer after that 15 minutes, wait another 15 minutes, and then I can remove the masking tape and finally start playing with the Nitorlack stains. Nitorlack was kind enough to send me all the products I need to finish this guitar, and I already did an unboxing video 2 videos ago, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And I thought, why not incorporate a product showcase in this video to showcase all the products I'm using in this video, starting with their grain filler. It's a 4-in-1 grain filler. I've chosen the black grain filler to fill all the grain on the mahogany, and you can use it as a wood putty, as a sanding sealer, as a crack filler. It doesn't shrink. It's water based, so you can dilute it with water if needed. And yeah, it's a very nice product to use. I already used it. I can highly recommend their grain filler. They also sent me a whole bunch of sandpaper. It's Velcro backed sandpaper, starting with 240 grit all the way up to 3000 to wet sand the clear coat once the guitar is clear coated. And also they included a flexible Velcro backing pad. So real nice. I can also highly recommend this sandpaper. I already used it and it's great, as well as their selection of stains they sent me. They sent me their concentrated stain, so this bottle will last me forever. And it's a universal stain. You can dilute it with your preferred solvent. You can use solvent, you can use water, and Nitorlack also has their specialized solvent to use with this stain. And when using solvent, you can use these stains not only with a pad or with applying with a cloth, but you can also use them in your spray gun if you have a spray booth. So yeah, the colors I'm using are of course their black stain, cherry or flamingo red, their orange stain, and their yellow stain. And to showcase these colors on their own, I'm going to stain some samples of flamed maple that I've prepared by sanding it to 240 grit. And we're going to start with the Nitor black stain, and I'm using this glass container. Put just a tiny bit of stain in there. And I really like those anti-drop caps. I'm going to dilute it with a tiny bit of water. Mix it up a bit. And I'm using just a paper towel. You can really see how intense black the stain is. So that's the Nitor concentrated black. The next stain is the cherry or flamingo red. Open it up, put a bit in the glass container, maybe a bit more. And that's the cherry flamingo red. It's a very bright color. And now for the orange. Towel soak up the stain. That's the Nitorlack orange. So, and lastly, the Nitorlack yellow. Here it is. So the Nitorlack Nitor Tint Yellow. So guys, these are the products used in this video, and if you like to know more, get more information or try these products for yourself, you can find more information on these products and the Nitorlack website using the affiliated links in the video description down below. I'm going to start with some black. So I have a glass jar, low jar. And I'm going to dilute my first coat of black stain a bit. Make sure to put on some gloves, especially when working with concentrated stains. Wear gloves. If I can get them on. And you can dilute these stains 3 to 10%. And I don't think I'm going to need much. There are those, and that's very nice to see, those anti-spill, anti-drop thingies inside the bottle. So just a tiny bit of stain. Some fresh water, and yeah, I really don't need much, just a few drops. And hopefully by diluting the stain with water a bit, it soaks into the pores and into the wood a bit more. Just to make sure, a couple of drops of concentrated stain still. Let's see. I'm going to use a couple of these pieces of an old cotton cloth, make a nice little bowl and start applying some of the stain. And I'm going to stain from the inside out. So, and for all these lines I can't reach with my rag, I'm going to use a paintbrush and try and get that stain really in there. Yeah, at first glance, what I like about this stain thus far is that it goes on fairly even. There's not much blotching going on. I get a real intense dark black color straight away with the first pass, and it might have to do that it's a concentrated stain instead of a pre-diluted water-based stain, for example. That might be diluted a bit too far. So being able to dilute or to determine how far to dilute the stain seems to be very handy. Yeah guys, I'm done with the black stain for now, I think. Oh, I missed the headstock. Let's do the headstock real quick. I thought I was done. But luckily I still have a bit of stain in my little jar thingy. So load up. Almost forgot the headstock. But luckily that was easily fixed. So yeah, now I'm really done with the black stain, and like I said, I'm going to leave it for 15 minutes, half an hour to dry a bit, and then I can see if I can sand it down a bit, see how it looks, and decide whether or not to do a second coat of black or that I can go straight into playing with some colors. So yeah, I'm going to have a cup of coffee and I'll see you guys in just a moment. So it's been 15-20 minutes since we applied the last coat of the black stain, and I removed the masking tape just to see how much of the stain bled into the mahogany. And I don't think it's much. Most of it is stopped, of course, by the sanding sealer. So now I'm going to very lightly sand down the black color, and I'm going to use again 220 sandpaper that is applied, and the accompanying flex pad. It's a Velcro pad that we can stuck our sandpaper to, and I'm going to very lightly sand back the black stain. And of course, in the same time, I'm going also to sand back the sanding sealer. And I might have to apply another layer if I go and apply the rest of the stains. Of course, I keep checking if my sandpaper isn't clogging up, because if the stain is still too wet, I can notice either with sanding or if my sandpaper clogs up real quick. That usually means that the stain is still too wet. But it seems to be very, very quick drying. Nope, not plugging up. And I'm going to sand the center part the most, so I want this to be the lightest because this is where the yellows and the light oranges are going to be, and I'm going to fade to dark near the edges. There's a lot of sanding to do here in the center section. You can now really see the flames on this flamed alder popping out. Yeah, I'm going to sand a bit more, and yeah, I'll keep checking in with you guys to show you the progress. the Nitorlack stain really penetrates good into the wood. You can see by the amount of effort it takes me to sand it back how deep the stain penetrated. So yeah, I think that's a good thing, but it requires a bit more effort from my side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my time to sand everything to the stage that I'm happy with it, and then I'll be back with you guys to show you the end result. There's not much to it, just a lot of elbow grease to sand down the stain a bit until I'm at this stage, approximately right here. So guys, I'm done sanding with the 240 grit sandpaper, and it took me quite some time to get to this stage and with a gradient that I was happy with. Yeah, and I think it's a crucial step, so it was well worth the time, spending extra time in getting this gradient the way I want it to before applying color. That said, before I can apply color, or before I will apply color, Nitorlack recommends also sanding with 400 grit sandpaper. So I'm going to take the 400 grit. Where's my backing? Here's my backing pad. So I'm going to change it out for a 400 grit and give the entire guitar a quick little rub. And I've already applied masking tape so that when I'm sanding, I don't sand away the dark edge that's up against the mahogany binding. I realized that when sanding over the masking tape, I get a nice gradient in the stain. Because I kept sanding into the mahogany, and that's not a problem, but I noticed there was a tiny white line appearing, and that's something I don't want. And with the masking tape already in place, of course, it lifts the sandpaper ever so slightly, especially when using a sanding block, and you won't sand all the way to the edge, so you get a nice dark edge, in my case along the binding. So quick little rub with some 400 grit sandpaper. And also I'm very impressed, look at this, with this sandpaper. It doesn't clog up nearly as fast as other sandpapers or sanding pads. And that's something I really didn't expect. So I'm really impressed with this sandpaper. I only used 2 sheets to do the body, and you can see they're fairly clean still. The only thing was it dulled down at some point. But yeah, very impressive. So quick little rub. And that's mostly because the moisture in the black stain and the added water, of course, raised the grain a little. So now I'm making sure it's all nice and flat and there are no scratches left by the 240 grit sandpaper. So it's just a quick little rub. I can do this real time. Wow. Let's see. Yeah, maybe not in real time. I'm going to make sure this pass is also absolutely perfect. So yeah, when I'm done, I'll be right back. So guys, now I'm really done sanding with the 400 grit. Now the top is nice and smooth and ready to start playing with some color. So I have my red, orange and yellow stains. I have 3 glass containers, of course some cotton and a paper towel to apply the stain. And I'm going to start with some cherry or flamenco red. If I can get the bottle to open. Come on. It's not only child-proof, it's also Unquendor proof. Oh, here we go. Yeah, maybe, maybe not. Oh, yeah, here we go. I really like the insert, the anti-drip, anti-spill insert. So I don't, maybe a bit more. You don't need much of the stain. Add a bit of water. Maybe a bit more. So take the stain, take my cotton rag for the red, and let's start applying some stain. I'm going to apply it from the edges inwards. Wow, it's a nice color red, and it really takes on the wood. Look at this, guys. It's amazing. So let's blend it in a bit. Again, take a little brush and try to get some stain in there. Unfortunately, there might have been a bit of black in the brush still. And here we go. So guys, for the orange, the exact same thing. Bit of orange. There's a little net flying around. A few drops of water. Maybe a bit more. Cotton rag. And apply some yellow. Wow, that's bright. And I'm going to use this yellow to also blend the orange and the red and hopefully some of the black together, and hopefully brighten up some of the areas. It's a bit too yellow maybe. Yeah, and I'm by no means an expert on staining, guys. For me, it's a lot of trial and error while I'm doing this. Going to apply some more orange. Because I think the orange in particular brings out most of the grain. Yeah. It's getting there, but guys, I'm not quite there yet. I'm not really happy with how this center part looks, and I'm not quite sure what to do about it. So yeah, I'm going to experiment a bit more off camera, and I'll be right back with you guys. Yeah guys, I think you all unfortunately know what this means. I'm starting over. I don't know why, but I didn't get the result I was after. Everything I tried, lightening up, brightening up, of darkening spots, only made it worse and worse. All colors blended in, they become almost just a brown goop, and no highlights, no dark spots, almost no contrast. The more I tried to get contrast back into the stain job, the more muddy it became. Even letting it dry, sending it back a bit, and then trying to highlight everything with the bright yellow, everything became just a orangey brown. So I don't know what happened. Maybe I'm not mixing the stains right, or maybe I have to let everything dry in between color applications of color, but then it will be hard to blend in the edges. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do right now, besides taking everything as far back as I can and come up with a different solution. But so yeah guys, I don't think I can film this process. I really need to be on my own, have some music or a podcast playing in the background, and figure out what to do. And yeah, maybe if I have a solution, I come back with you guys. But if I finish the guitar, of course I'm going to show you the result and tell you how I managed to get to that result. But for now, yeah, I'm going to put on some music, sand everything down as far as I can, trying to get rid of this awful brownish color that's on the guitar right now. So yeah, I'll be back with you guys for a new update in just a moment. Yeah guys, you've undoubtedly noticed I had some problems recording the audio for this episode. For some reason, one of my mics kept cutting out, and at this point in the video, both my mics decided not to record any audio. So yeah, I decided to do a voiceover for the next section. And as you can see, I managed to get the stain onto my liking, and now I'm cleaning all the edges of the false mahogany binding. And guys, the problems I encountered when applying the stain, I think had nothing to do with the stain and the brand itself. It's more likely my sloppy technique and getting used to the product. It seems to work differently than the stains I am used to using. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something to get used to. And in all fairness, I really need to start practicing my staining techniques a lot more. And now it's back to cleaning the edges, and the trick with using the sanding sealer helped a lot. The stain didn't bleed into the mahogany as bad as it could have been, and for the headstock I'm using a discarded box cutter blade to scrape the edges clean of any stain that spilled over. Yeah guys, here is the end result and I'm very happy with how this turned out. Although it's a bit different than what I initially had in mind, it's a bit less vibrant, but I really like the gradient and the coloring of this guitar top right now, and I'm sure that as soon as we start to apply the clear coats, the colors will really start to pop and you can see a lot of depth in the guitar top. So yeah, I can't wait to start the finishing project with the clear coats, but unfortunately that will have to wait till a next episode, unfortunately. So I hope you liked this video, and as always, if you did, let me know by leaving a like, leaving a comment, question or suggestion in the comment section down below. And of course, if you're new to this channel and you've liked what you've seen, please consider subscribing and hit that little notification bell so you get notified when I upload something new. And as always guys, thank you very much for all your support. And also a big shout out and a big thank you to Nitorlack for supplying all the materials I need to finish this special project. And guys, if you like to learn more about Nitorlack, about their products, or give them a try yourself, please use the affiliated links in the video description down below, and that's for you another great way to familiarize yourself not only with some great products but also help to support this channel a bit by using those links. So thank you all very much. I hope to see you all in the next episode, but as always, until then, take care and bye bye.